How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode and the launch of the channel Banger Gaming, where we're going to go through the settings and complete career mode of a road to glory from the very bottom of League Two, Stevenage Football Club, and try and get all the way up to a position where we're fighting for the Champions League title. Welcome to the channel. My name is Danny and I'll be uploading content on a weekly basis, and essentially I'll be showing you today the very first footsteps of creating a career mode, creating a team. I'll show you all of the kind of things that I do when I first create a career mode to get myself started and set up, from creating my manager, doing some scouting, having a look at some young superstars, and also getting my youth system created and prepared. And then we'll go into the pre-season in the next episode. And then each episode from now onwards will be each game that I will play throughout the entire season as Stevenage Football Club. The targets of this career mode will be to simply get promoted out of League Two. Obviously, a cup run of some kind would always be a good touch and exciting, but the main priority is to stay consistent enough to get a team together which can fight for either automatic promotion or even the playoffs, and hopefully get a step out of League Two and into League One, get some income, get some money, buy some players, and progress then onwards into the Championship. If you haven't done so already, please do hit the subscribe button. It makes a huge difference to channels like this, and will really boost morale for me and give me more of a reason to create these videos. But this video, as I said, is essentially just the very starting point, just before we get started in the pre-season fixtures, and it will be the setup of the career mode. It will be the setup of everything that's to come. As I said, we're going to be creating the manager. As you can see here, I'm just sort of flicking through some of the options. For those of you that haven't done this already, you can see the sort of options that are available to you. We'll then obviously be picking our club, which is Stevenage. We'll be keeping everything pretty simple for the first year. There'll be no financial takeover. We'll be keeping things on world class, which is the standard of class that I currently play on. I'm hoping to bump up to legendary at some point, but for now, certainly with a side like Stevenage has to offer, I'll be keeping it on world class. We'll be allowing transfers to happen. We'll be allowing European competitions. We'll be keeping things in sterling pounds, and we'll be just keeping everything as it should be for the first season. So I'm nearly done now with the creation of the manager. I'm going to keep everything kind of as it is. I'm going to leave a hat on him, which I quite like. On this career mode, you've got options with clothing as well. Not many options. I thought there would be more, but you can see the options we sort of have available here. I'm just going to go for a shirt, trouser sort of combo for the first season. You can adjust this as the weeks go by, which I may do. I sometimes like to change the appearance for cup games or even finals if we're lucky enough to get to one. I don't think we will in this career mode, but you never know. And essentially we can plug this in as it is and get started with the rest of the settings that we have. So I'm going to go with a standard manager name as Danny Buckley, not very imaginative. We're going to go for an authentic club, as you know, Stevenage. We're going to have a very little amount of money to spend in the first season, which I typically spend almost entirely on my youth system to get some young youth players in. I'm just going to bump my stadium up slightly, only because I hate, if we are lucky enough to get to the Championship or even the Premier League, it's awful playing in that rubbish Town Park Stadium, so I like to go for one in the middle. And it's always a nice touch to rename your stadium to the stadium that we will play in as Stevenage, which is obviously the Lamex. I don't like to play around too much with the other options like the pitch and the stands and stuff. So I normally just skip over these and just get into the nitty-gritty of the game. As I said previously, I'm going to stick it on world class. I down the half lengths to 5 minutes. I'm going to keep things on sterling, no financial takeover, and keep everything else as it is. So when you progress through into the career mode, the first thing you'll need to do is interact with the press. So as you can see here, Stevenage have signed me as their manager. You'll face a couple of press options and questions, which I've just skipped over for you. And then you'll be invited to a pre-season tournament. I always just go for the one that offers the most money. Doesn't matter how difficult it is. I like to go for the big bucks. You never know if you can just about win it. You may be able to even bring in an additional player with that income. When you start up then, as you can see here, this is sort of your home screen. This is where most of the action will happen from now onwards. Here you have control over your schedules, your training. You can see the standings of the league. You get your emails come through. So here we've already got Youth Academy set up. And if you're lucky enough, you may even have a young superstar or two in here. We've got, as you can see here, 4 rubbish players. I literally just go based on potential. If the potential is less than 94, I typically delete the player. Unless in this position you've got a player like we've got here, P. Simon. He's already rated 58. He's not going to go up too high with potential. But at 58, he could actually come into the team and be a nice sub for us to bring on during the game. This goalkeeper's looking pretty good. He's 15 years old. Likely that if he becomes 16 at some point during the season, we will actually bring him into the team because we're currently using a loanee in goal, which you'll soon find out that I don't enjoy very much. I don't enjoy loans in real life. I get attached to them and I get upset when they go. And this guy here, Nilos Harris, looks really impressive actually. He's a winger, 58 already, and has a potential of 94 as it stands. That does fluctuate, and as soon as that starts going down, I do typically release them because it means that you're not going to get much more from them. But the most important thing to do at this point, if you are starting up a career mode, is go into the transfer settings, hit youth staff, and get your youth system created. You're always given 1 scout at the start, which is normally rubbish. And with this amount of income, we're probably going to have to keep that scout. And I'm going to actually spend most of my transfer budget on decent scouts. So as you can see here, I've gone for... I've kept the English one that we had at the start, which is 1 star, 1 star. You can't expect much from that person. The one in the middle from Iceland, I'm expecting a little bit from. And the one from Finland, we may get 1 or 2 from. I always put 1 on 9 month. I always look for them to go to their home countries because I just find that more realistic. So I'll send this one to Iceland. I want a physically strong person from Iceland, technically gifted from England. And I'm going to send Miko to his home country of Finland. And I'm going to send him there for 3 months. And I'm looking for an attacker there. So we've got a nice balance. We've got technically gifted, physically strong, and an attacker. So they'll go and do their thing. And once a month, we'll get a report from them. And as I said, anything that comes in with a potential rating of 94, I will sign them into the Youth Academy and see how they go. The next thing to remember is to go into your squad hub. If you've got a better team, this is a good opportunity to release a load of rubbish or put a load of people up for sale. We don't have that luxury at the moment. So the best thing to do is to go onto the developmental site, and I just go through each player and go through all of the options. And at the top, you can see how quickly they can progress to the next stat. So this one, for example, I can see that 72 is the least one, so I clicked on that one. For Luther Wilding, one of our potential players, I've gone for the lowest one for him. And I basically do this for all of my players. Players like Bostwick are obviously 34 and old, so he's coming down. So we want a higher ETA on him. But all of the other players will be going up, so we want that to happen as quickly as possible. Again, this changes week by week. So this is just something we need to sort of keep an eye on. Maybe once a month you'll see me going through this screen and just making sure that each player is on the quickest trajectory as possible to get to the higher levels available to them. So essentially we get better players by the end of the season, probably actually to sell on, but we will see. We've got some decent players. We've not got many players with potential. Unfortunately, the ones with potential actually are loanees, so we will get attached to them and then have to lose them at the end of the season. But those are the ones that we'll look to replace as soon as possible, I guess. And luckily, we did get a keeper in our youth academy, so I'm excited to replace our lone keeper with him. As you can see here, they're setting up their scouting networks, and we're going to go into the most mundane part of the career mode, which is training. I'm actually going to skip over these because they take ages, but they are worth doing. If you just simulate all of them, you will always get a D. If you get an A by playing them once, you will always get an A. So it's worth doing them, getting A's. It takes some time, and then you'll never have to do them again. So I do play them. I get it all set up, but I'm not going to make you sit there and watch me do all the training sessions. As you can see here, I'll just skip through them, so you don't have to watch that. Now, time to check the finances. As I said, I've spent 3/4 of my budget on the youth system, which is a good idea at this stage, because you can't typically afford some of the players that you may get through the youth system if you're lucky enough, but it is luck of the draw. You have scouts that can go and find you players, but I don't typically interact with them much. But the first thing that's really, really important to do is to find those players that are going to make a difference in the later leagues and keep an eye on them, get them scouted, so when you're ready to buy them, they're there. So I've got a list of players here that I always go for, and these are players with low ranking. They're young, and therefore they don't cost much, relatively speaking. They're still a couple of £1 million, but they've got high potential. So this guy here, for example, will typically go up to 87, maybe 88. I've even seen him at a 90 in some scenarios if you do get his development right. But all of these players are the ones that we're going to be aiming for. So if we do get fortunate enough to get promoted and we get an influx of cash for whatever reason, I'm going to be going for some of these players. It's likely that they won't come to us at this stage, so that's why promotion is always the target. Once we get up into League One, we're far more attractive to players like these. We have far more money, and we're much more likely to be able to go for them and bring them into the team. So that's essentially what I'm doing at the moment. I always use FIFA to find out the sort of potential options that we've got. I look for youth, I look for people with low overall stats, but then with high potential. And typically you get sort of 9 or 10 of these each year, the young prodigies that we want to bring into the team. So there's a nice balance of what's available. As you'll see, we've got wingers, we've got strikers, we've got defenders. I'm hoping that our goalkeeper that we've got in our youth academy is going to stay with that high potential rate. Ideally, we'll keep him and we'll just keep developing him. By the time we get into League One, he'll be in the 60s and so on. But it's all luck of the draw. It all depends on the development and how kind FIFA is going to be to us. So as you'll see, I'm essentially just getting my scouts to get more information on these people, and I'm shortlisting them in my transfer hub. And the reason why I do that is because they just stay there. Whether you buy them or not, one season or even in the next season, they will be there. So whenever you're ready to make a big purchase like one of these players, certainly for a club like us, they'll be there. They'll be waiting. You'll know the stats, you'll know the price, you'll know exactly what it is that you'll need to be bidding for these people. Now, if you're starting with a Premier League team, chances are you could probably buy all of these players. But starting with a League Two side like Stevenage Borough, you're far less likely to be able to buy a player like this. We may be able to loan one if it comes to that at some point during the season. But as I've said a number of times, I'm against loans. And as you'll see, I never typically go for loans. I would prefer to stick with what we got and save up and buy one of these players when the time is right, which is typically at the beginning of a new season. So I think this is the last one on my list. So we'll add him to the transfer list. He's a good one to buy because he's a very quick striker, which is always the kind of thing that we're looking for in FIFA career mode. And that's it. My transfer hub's set up and ready to go. Now, the last thing that we need to do then is look at what we've got. What does our team look like? What are we dealing with here? You'll know that some players are good FIFA players, some players aren't. Norris is the top goal scorer at Stevenage Football Club, but unfortunately he's not a FIFA player. This guy, however, Elliot List, may be someone you're familiar with. He's got 93 pace. And as a League Two striker, whether he can score or not, 93 pace up top is the exact kind of thing that we're looking for. That injection of pace is the kind of thing that we're looking for. So actually, we're going to replace Norris with List. As you can see, David Amu as well has got a high acceleration and speed rate. He's the kind of guy that we're going to want to come off the bench. And Smith is our only young potential player that we have at Stevenage Football Club. So whenever possible, if we're in a situation where we're 2-3-0 up with a little bit of time left at the end, he's that guy I'm going to bring on just to get him some experience. We're going to keep check on his development and allow him to upgrade as we go through. Piers Gianni will stay as our captain, which is vital for me. We'll keep him as he is. He's already welcomed us into the club, as you'd have seen at the start. As I said, Norris is a high-rated player and someone that we aren't really going to play. So it's good just to see his market value. And as you can see, he's worth 425,000 here. We'd probably get a bit more for him. But I do think at this stage it's better to have him rather than sell him for the sake of it. So we are just going to keep him on the books. Continue to do some of the training and tick some of those boxes. As you can see here. We've got all A's on those. So like I said, all of those would stay as A's now that we've done them and achieved an A on those pieces of training. We're getting some offers in for Reed, which is always tempting because Reed isn't one of our starting 11. But again, we need that depth this season, especially in League Two. We're going to play probably more than 50 games this year, League and Cup. So it's important to have some depth in our team. Just going to do the last piece of training here, advance. And here we are. We're at the pre-season now. So we've done all of our setup. We've done everything we needed to. And now it's time to get on the pitch and see what we're dealing with for the rest of the season. It's not too late now to make some changes if required. But we will see how it goes in the first game. I hope you've enjoyed the video. This is the start. This is the launch. There's a lot more to come from this. Please tune in soon, and there will be a video of the pre-season friendlies, the pre-season tournaments coming up soon. Thank you. Please subscribe, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye.